Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I took my wife, Marilyn, to a party that night. One of those corporate things her company loved to throw when a new client signed on. Music, cocktails, too many people pretending to like each other. She looked sharp, confident, already in performance mode before we even got out of the car. From the moment we walked in, she floated through the crowd like it was her stage. Everyone laughed a little too loudly at her stories, especially Terry, her work buddy, the type who loved attention almost as much as she did. I stood beside her, playing the supportive husband, nodding in the right places, smiling when it seemed polite. It started small, a joke about my cooking, then about my driving, then one about my quiet personality, delivered like a punchline. Each laugh got louder, sharper. Every time she spoke, her tone shifted, more performative, less real. The people around her didn't know where to look. They laughed because she wanted them to. Terry leaned over and said, "Marilyn, you're ruthless tonight." She grinned, holding up her glass. "Just keeping it honest," she said. The group laughed again, and I felt the air change. It wasn't playful anymore. It was target practice. I didn't say a word. I just looked at her, really looked, and realized she wasn't talking to me at all. She was performing through me, feeding off the crowd's reaction. Every smile on her face hit harder than any insult could. So I pushed back my chair, slow and deliberate. No one moved. Marilyn froze mid-sentence, her hand still in the air. I stood, straightened my jacket, and walked toward the exit. The place fell silent behind me. Her laughter, bright and constant all night, stopped completely. I hadn't gone straight home after leaving the party. I'd driven around for a while, letting my head clear. When I finally turned onto our street, the house lights were still on. Marilyn rushed home before I could. When I walked in, she was at the kitchen counter, still in her party dress. She didn't look up. "You really made me look stupid tonight," she said, her tone sharp but brittle. I set my keys down. "You did that on your own." Her head snapped up. "Excuse me?" "You spent the whole night turning me into a joke," I said. My voice stayed even, calm. "You wanted an audience, Marilyn. You got one." She crossed her arms, defensive. It was banter, Grant. People were laughing. It's what we do at those things. You walking out like that? That's what embarrassed me. "Good," I said. "Now you know how I've felt for months." She blinked, surprised at how steady I sounded. "Oh, come on," she said. "You're overreacting." It was lighthearted. "No, it was small," I said. "And it was planned. Every time you needed a laugh, you picked me. It's like I stopped being your husband and started being your punchline." She rolled her eyes, but her voice dropped. "You're too sensitive." I took a step closer. Or maybe I'm just done pretending that disrespect is humor. The words hung between us. She didn't answer. Her eyes darted toward the floor, then back to me. The silence stretched until it broke under its own weight. "I was just trying to keep the mood light," she murmured finally. "At my expense," I said. For the first time that night, she looked unsure. "You shouldn't have left like that," she said quietly. I turned toward the hallway. "Next time, if you want to perform, don't expect me to be part of the act." I grabbed a pillow and blanket from the couch and headed for the guest room. I heard her sigh. Not angry this time, just lost. The next morning, I woke up early and went for a walk. The house was silent. When I came back, my phone buzzed. A message from Cynthia Lee, one of Marilyn's coworkers. No greeting, no explanation. It was a screenshot of a group chat from the night before. The title read, "Friday Roast." Marilyn's name was right at the top. They'd planned those jokes days in advance. Little reminders of what to say, what would get the best laughs. My name came up 3 times. Each message hit harder than the last. "Make the quiet husband bit sound spontaneous." "Don't go too hard too early. Save the driving story for later." And Terry's reply, "He's a good sport. He'll take it." I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the reply icon, but I didn't type a word. I just saved the screenshots and waited for her to wake up. When she finally walked into the kitchen, I placed the phone on the table, screen facing up. "You might want to see this first." Her face changed as she read it, from confusion to disbelief, then to something close to fear. "It wasn't like that," she said quickly. "We were joking around before the event. It wasn't serious." "You rehearsed humiliating me," I said. My tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. I just wanted to loosen people up, she said. You don't understand how stiff those events can be. I understand perfectly, I said. You wanted to be funny. I was just the price of admission. She sat down, covering her mouth with her hand. Grant, please. I held up a finger. Don't. Not now. I packed a small bag and walked to the door. She followed, barefoot, begging me to stay. I stopped at the threshold, turned to her once. Marilyn, I said, you got your laughs. Now you get the silence. Then I left, closing the door on the only sound left, her crying behind it. I stayed with my brother for a week. He didn't ask questions. That silence was exactly what I needed. The phone never stopped buzzing, though. Marilyn called, texted, and left voicemails that started angry and ended desperate. I didn't answer any of them. 3 days in, I checked social media. Someone had posted a short video from the party. The caption read, Marilyn Wallace absolutely roasting her husband. Brutal but hilarious. The comments weren't kind. A few laughed. Most didn't. People wrote things like, poor guy looks crushed, and this isn't funny. It's cruel. By the next morning, it was everywhere in her office circle. Marilyn's boss called her in for a conversation about professionalism. Terry, the same guy who'd encouraged her, deleted every comment he'd made and stopped replying to her messages. The crowd she tried to impress vanished overnight. Marilyn sent me one more text that evening. I messed up. Please come home so we can talk. I didn't respond. Not because I wanted to punish her. I just didn't trust anything she'd say yet. When I finally went back to the house to grab a few things, she was sitting at the kitchen table, same as that night, but smaller somehow. Her eyes were swollen. They think I'm some kind of bully, she said quietly. I looked around. You built that image yourself, I said. Tears welled up, but she didn't argue. For the first time, she didn't try to control the narrative. She just nodded, whispering, I know. I left again, slower this time. No slammed doors, no sharp words, just the quiet understanding that whatever we'd had was breaking down, one layer at a time, and this time, no one was laughing. 2 weeks passed before Marilyn asked to meet in person. She said it wasn't about the marriage, just practical things. I agreed. We met at a cafe between our offices, neutral ground. She arrived early, looking tired but composed. The makeup couldn't hide the sleepless eyes. Thank you for coming, she said softly. I nodded. Let's keep this short. She exhaled, steadying herself. Grant, I know what I did was wrong. You don't have to say it. I've said it to myself every day since that night. I'm not here for an apology, I said. I'm here to talk about what's next. Her eyes flickered. Next? Bills. The mortgage. The rest of it. The words seemed to land harder than I meant them to. She stared at the table, twisting her ring. So, that's it? You're just done? I've been done, I said. You just didn't notice until I stood up. She flinched slightly but didn't argue. After a pause, she said, I thought we were fine. I thought you liked being the quiet one. I didn't realize I'd turned into... She stopped herself, looking for the right word. Someone else. You were chasing approval, I said. Every room you walk into, you need people to laugh, so you know they see you. Somewhere along the way, I just became a prop. Her voice broke. I didn't mean to hurt you. I believe that, I said. But intention doesn't fix impact. She wiped at her eyes quickly, not wanting to cry in public. Can we at least try to start over? Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes? I looked at her for a long moment. Marilyn, we had a chance to start over dozens of times. You just never stopped performing long enough to see it. So, that's really the end? It's the part where I stop pretending, I said. What you do next is up to you. She didn't chase me when I stood up this time. She just nodded once, eyes wet, as I walked out. The divorce process moved faster than either of us expected. There were no children, no real battles to fight. Just 2 signatures and a decade of history reduced to paperwork. Marilyn's lawyer was polite but distant. Mine, efficient and silent. We met twice in person, once for mediation, once for final signing. Both times she tried to start small talk. Both times I kept it civil but short. It wasn't cruelty, it was self-preservation. After the video scandal, she transferred to another branch in a smaller city. Word was that clients had pulled out, saying they didn't want drama around the brand. Terry, the one who'd started that group chat, stayed and quietly took over her clients. I didn't feel sorry for her, not exactly. But I did recognize the emptiness that comes when the applause stops. The last meeting took place in a sterile office. She wore a simple black dress, no sparkle, no performance. The lawyer slid the final page across the table. Marilyn hesitated before signing. "I've been taking a hard look at myself," she said quietly. "Therapy, journaling, all that stuff. I keep thinking about that moment. When you stood up, I didn't realize that was the exact second I lost you." I met her eyes. "You didn't lose me because of one night, Marilyn. You lost me because you kept turning every moment into an audience. Eventually, I just stopped showing up." She nodded slowly, eyes down. "I deserved that." We both signed, and just like that, our marriage was legally over. She reached across the table, fingertips brushing the edge of my sleeve. "For what it's worth," she said, "I hope you find someone who sees you." I stood. "I already do," I said. "It's just me this time." When I walked out of that building, there was no sadness, no weight, just space, the kind that comes after a storm finally clears. 6 months later, I got invited to speak at a leadership conference, my first public event since everything ended. I almost turned it down. Crowds still reminded me of that night. But something in me wanted to close the loop. The hotel ballroom buzzed with the usual networking noise. I wore a dark suit, simple, quiet. When I walked up to the podium, I didn't see faces, just a sea of expectation. I took a slow breath and started talking about professionalism, respect, and knowing when silence is stronger than reaction. Halfway through my talk, my eyes caught a familiar figure near the back. Marilyn. Her hair was shorter now, darker. No one was standing near her. She looked different, still beautiful, but subdued, smaller somehow. Our eyes met for a moment. No anger, no regret, just recognition. Afterward, people came up to shake my hand, ask questions, and trade business cards. I kept scanning the room, but she was gone. Later that night, as I walked to my car, I saw her waiting by the exit. "You were good up there," she said. "You always were. I just never noticed." "Thanks," I said. "You seem different." "I had to be," she said. "After you left, everything collapsed. Friends stopped calling. Terry won an award for one of my old projects. HR moved me out quietly. I kept waiting for someone to care, but no one did." "That's what happens when the crowd moves on," I said. She nodded, eyes shining but steady. "You were right about the silence. It teaches you who you really are." We stood there a few seconds longer. Then she said, "Take care, Grant." "You too, Marilyn." We didn't hug. We didn't promise to stay in touch. She turned left, I turned right. Just two people walking in opposite directions, both finally free of the noise. A year later, I went to another party. Different company, different crowd. Someone cracked a joke about how quiet I was, and for a moment, the sound of laughter pulled me back to that night. The memory didn't sting anymore. It just existed, like a scar that doesn't ache in the rain. That night, as I drove home, I thought about how everything had started. Marilyn's laughter echoing across that first party, my decision to stand up and walk away. I hadn't realized then that standing up wasn't about leaving her. It was about me. I don't hate her. I don't even resent her anymore. People perform when they're afraid of being seen for who they are. She needed the crowd to feel real. I just needed peace. A few weeks after the conference, she mailed me a short note. No long letter, no attempt to reopen anything. Just one line in her neat handwriting. "You were right." The silence was louder than I expected. I threw it away without thinking too much about it. Some things don't need to be kept. They just need to be understood. Now, when I tell this story, people expect some twist ending, that we got back together, or that I regret leaving. But the truth is quieter than that. The night I stood up and walked away, her laughter died. But something else was born in that silence, my sense of worth. And once you hear that sound, you don't ever want to drown it out again. Thank you for watching.